Hey everyone! Today we're going to continue on with Chapter 1, and in this section we're going to specifically talk about how do we maintain life. The goals of this section is to identify the 8 functions that humans need to do in order to maintain life, and the 5 essential needs that humans need in order to do these functions. One thing to note is that organ systems do not work in isolation. While we do study them individually, please know that they all work together to make sure that our body is working as efficiently as possible. So let's go ahead and get started. The first of these life functions that we're going to talk about is maintaining boundaries. Every living organism has to maintain boundaries, and they separate the inside from the outside. If we're going to look at the very small cellular level, all cells have an external membrane. Hopefully you remember from biology, this is called a plasma membrane. When you get bigger than that, if you look at the body as a whole, we have the integumentary system that we just learned about, which is our skin. It covers our entire body and allows us to have a boundary between us and the air outside or a car or the dirt. Number 2 is movement. Movement includes all activities that are promoted by the muscular system. So any locomotion, including walking, swimming, running, bicycling, just even moving my mouth right now is using muscles to move. Another thing when we talk about movement is the movement of things within our internal organs or inside our body. For example, our cardiovascular system is constantly moving blood, which is carrying nutrients and oxygen. Our digestive system is constantly moving food throughout our body and even moves feces out of our body to get rid of. And our urinary system helps filter our blood, but it carries urine through our body to get rid of it, get rid of that waste. 3 is responsiveness, sometimes also called irritability. The definition of responsiveness is the ability to sense changes and react to those changes. Those changes are often called stimuli. Basically, a stimuli, for example, is if a light is too bright, that's a stimulus to tell us to maybe not dilate our pupils, but to constrict them. Another example that's on here is if you touch a hot stove, that hotness is going to be a stimulus. It's going to tell your body to pull your hand back. The other one the book gives you is if there's high carbon dioxide levels, it's going to increase your breathing rate, so you're going to be able to take in more oxygen to deliver to your cells. Now, responsiveness and irritability is mostly and majorly controlled by the nervous system, telling other body systems to either breathe, to stimulate a certain part, to tell your muscles to pull back. But the nervous system is the one majorly responsible for this. The next one is digestion. Digestion is said to be the breakdown of food and the absorption of those nutrients that come from that food. These nutrients are then distributed to all the body cells with the help of the cardiovascular system. So remember, those nutrients go into the blood, and the blood carries it to the cells. The cells use those nutrients to make energy. The energy allows you to power different things such as movement. The 5th one is metabolism. Metabolism is defined as the chemical reactions within the body, so all reactions. This includes breaking down complex molecules like fats into smaller ones that the body can use. This includes building larger molecules from small ones. So once we break down those small ones, we can build them into new things. Metabolism also helps you produce ATP. And another thing to understand about it is it's regulated by hormones from your endocrine system. Metabolism is also dependent on other body systems other than just the endocrine. A good one to talk about is digestive, because digestive is actually going to give the nutrients and the building blocks in order to build larger molecules, or it's going to be the one that takes in the food that can be broken down. Respiratory system is also very important because respiratory system brings in O2, and you have to have O2 in order to make large amounts of ATP. And then the last one is the cardiovascular system. This is your transport system. In order to even break down those molecules that you take in from your body, or even to get oxygen to those cells to produce energy, the blood from the cardiovascular system has to actually take it there. The sixth one is excretion. So excretion is it helps eliminate excreta, which is just waste. All of this waste comes from metabolic reactions that you do in order to keep your body running. You don't want that waste to build up within you. You want to get rid of it, and there are several ways you can get rid of it. You can get rid of it in the form of urine, which is your urinary system, in the form of feces, which is done by your digestive system, or through sweat, which is done through your integumentary system. So all those are 3 ways to get rid of waste. Number 7 is reproduction. This occurs both at the cellular level and both at the organismal level of us human beings. On the cellular level, what happens is cells are constantly being broken down. Some of them get destroyed because they're infected by bacteria. Some of this just age. So new cells are constantly needing to be made. They can be made for growth because you're growing into an adult or you're growing new tissue, or through repair. Hopefully you remember from biology they do this through a process of mitosis. At the organismal level, we reproduce using the reproductive system. We have a sperm and we have an egg, and those come together to create eventually a fetus that will turn into a baby, which will eventually use cellular level reproduction to grow bigger and create more and more cells. This is regulated by hormones in the endocrine system, which we learned about when we talked about the overview of it. Number 8 kind of goes hand in hand with reproduction, but it is growth. This is the increase in either cell size or body size. So cells getting bigger or your actual body getting bigger because you have an increasing number of cells. Growth is also considered it's considered growth if cells are being created faster than they're being destroyed. And again, hormones are going to play a major role in this. Now that we've covered those 8 things, the next thing we're going to talk about is 5 survival needs in order to maintain life and to do those life functions. In order to do those life functions, the first thing you're going to need is nutrients, and you get this from your food or any liquids that you take into your body. These nutrients are just chemicals that are going to be used to either make energy or to be building blocks to make new cells, make new proteins, etc. They can include carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, which are considered to be fats, vitamins, and minerals. You need all of those in order to have a healthy diet. Lipids and proteins usually go for cell structure, but lipids are also stored as fat to help cushion your body and act as a source of fuel. Minerals and vitamins, on the other hand, are used for chemical reactions. For example, very important minerals for your skeletal system are going to be calcium and phosphorus. Now, you can take in all the nutrients in the world, but it's going to be useless if you don't have oxygen. And the reason for that is because oxygen is required to break down all these nutrients you're taking in and create ATP, create that energy for your body. Human cells can only actually survive a few minutes without oxygen before damage starts to be done to those cells. You often hear people, if they stop breathing, they're worried about brain damage, because if the brain goes so long without oxygen, your cells within your brain can start to die. Now, oxygen is made available with the use of the respiratory system by breathing it in, and the cardiovascular system by transporting it to different tissues. The third survival need is water. You're often told that you need to make sure you're taking in water. You don't want to become dehydrated. Honestly, you should rather have water than food. You'll die first from water than starvation. About 60 to 80% of your body weight is water. It is actually the most abundant chemical in the human body. The reason for this, it provides a fluid base for any body secretions or excretions. It also helps you make all your interstitial fluids. Some ways you can get water is through your food or through liquids. However, while you're always taking in water, you're constantly losing water from evaporation in your lungs. So you're losing it in your lungs and breathing it out as water vapor. And then also through your skin whenever you decide to sweat. Also, your body excretions when you decide to go to the bathroom. All of those take out water out of your body. The fourth survival need is having normal body temperature. Normal body temperature, according to this textbook, is about 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That seems a little high to me. I usually go around 96, but as long as it's within that limit, you are fine. Some people run hotter and some people run colder. Below this temperature, if it's too low, so probably below 95, this is when chemical reactions start to slow down and they can actually become so slow that they stop. If it is above this temperature, so you get to be the 104, 108, this is when chemical reactions are happening too quickly and proteins start to break down or proteins denature. Now, most body heat that keeps your temperature in homeostasis is actually generated by the waste product of your skeletal muscles. When you work your skeletal muscles and you move, you're giving off heat. And that explains why when you're exercising, you get really, really hot. This heat is released and given off one way to cool down by the blood circulating close to your skin. It's put off, and the other way is to cool down is the heat is given off in the form of sweat. And the last survival need that we're going to talk about is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is defined as the force exerted on the surface of the body by the weight of air. So air does have a weight to it, and when it presses against your body, it exerts a force. Atmospheric pressure is needed in order for gas exchange to occur within the lungs. Gas always typically moves from high pressure to low pressure. So if you don't have a pressure difference, you're not going to be able to bring in as much oxygen as you need for your body to do its normal functions. A good example of this is if you go to a place with high altitude like Colorado, the air is very thin and the pressure is very low. And gas exchange, it makes it a little bit harder to breathe. Now, it's not too high, so you're good. But if you go too high, the air pressure will be so low that gas exchange cannot be supported. Now, just having these 5 survival factors is not enough to maintain life. You also have to make sure they're the appropriate amounts. For example, food has to be high quality in the correct amounts. Otherwise, you can get nutritional diseases, you can be underweight, malnourished, undernourished. You can sometimes, if you have too much, it can lead to obesity, and if you have too little, it's starvation. And that's the end of today's lesson. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help. And I hope you guys have a good day.